Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another video, and today we're going to talk about how you can brainwash yourself to success in 5 days by reprogramming the hidden command center of your reality. Now, I want to introduce you to 6 simple core understandings and teachings about your subconscious mind that you can use to brainwash yourself for a more wealthy, successful, peaceful, and loving experience. Now, the first thing we need to understand about the subconscious mind is that the subconscious mind is 95% automated habits, automated beliefs, automated choices. Now, why is this? Because we're going to break it down. So, the subconscious mind is 95% automated. How do we use this to our advantage to brainwash ourselves? Well, the first thing this means is that you are not going to be able to do this off of sheer willpower. Because sheer willpower is the conscious mind. How many of you have wanted to change? You felt like you've had these surges of motivation, surges of will. You might be good for 1, 2, 3 days, but after that, you self-sabotage and fall back into your old ways. That's because of the subconscious mind and this hidden command center of your reality. Now, what's so unique about this 95% programming, right? You don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to think about walking. So the real $1 million question is, how do we make success and abundance as simple and easy as breathing, walking, digesting, something that our subconscious programs know as true and know as normal? Well, let's talk about another thing related to the subconscious mind. So that was the first one. Now the second one is going to be the subconscious responds to repetition. Not motivation. Why is this? Well, the subconscious mind, or 95% of the programming, is actually pre-wired habits, choices, beliefs, and they're supposed to run on autopilot, or else we wouldn't be able to function if our conscious mind was overwhelmed with making a decision of how to walk. Oh my God, am I balanced right now? Am I going to fall off into the street? Oh my God, do I have to think about breathing? Right? You see how such simple things can become overwhelming? Now, the goal through repetition is to build an undeniable stack of discipline and self-accountability, which leads to evidence, right? And now the secret is that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a big win and a small win. So if you set out to build $1 million business, it'll get the same type of repetitive reprogramming as if you were to post that first Instagram reel related to the business you want to build. Now, you do not change your subconscious mind by forcing a thought. You do it through impressing emotions, beliefs, and identity level shifts. So, what is an identity level shift that will allow you to reprogram that hidden command center of reality, right? Identity level. Now, I'm going to look back on the Ascension 5-day workshop we did, because we embarked on this journey with 20 people and they saw some pretty significant changes. Evelina, she was stuck for 6 months, right? She had this stack of things she wanted to accomplish, and she said, I had never experienced that much amount of progress in 5 days compared to what I got done in the last 6 months. Now, someone else, Ray, right? He had certain habits. He hadn't worked out in 2 years. He loves peanut butter. But he caught himself going back into these subconscious ways, and he was able to immediately experience an identity level shift. Now, why were people able to do this? Why were they able to change their identity in the moment? Because that's going to be the thing that allows you to reprogram your subconscious mind. Now it's a simple equation, right? So the equation starts with part A. Part A is going to be identify. What do we have to identify? Who we don't want to be, right? If we don't want to be someone that waits 6 months to get the job done, we need to become aware of that first. And becoming aware of that allows us to become aware of old subconscious programs. Once we become aware of it, part 2 is going to be surrendering, right? So we have to let go of the old version of ourselves that's going to fight back. And this is the one thing that in the 5-day workshop, a lot of people were like, hey, Grant, like I understand everything you're talking about, but what is the act of letting go? The act of letting go is no longer resisting the judgment for the version of ourselves we don't want to be, right? If Evelina was so focused on resisting the fact that she didn't accomplish as much as she wanted to in the last 6 months, or Ray was resisting the fact that he didn't work out for the last 2 years, he would never be able to surrender that identity because what you resist persists. Now, if you no longer resist and you experience the death of resistance, the third step is it allows you to step into the present moment. Now, the present moment is where all the creation begins. So if you are tired of learning, you're tired of consuming teachings, you're tired of consuming just YouTube videos, I want you to click the first link in the bio because I'm going to be taking applications for the next 5-day Ascension workshop. Now, I need to be very clear, this is for a specific individual. This is for someone that is tired of their old way of living. This is someone that is tired of 5 years of limiting beliefs, of doubts, of fears, of worries, and they want to experience an immediate transformation on the identity level in 5 days with a hand-picked group of 25 individuals to embark on Ascension Workshop 2. So if that sounds like you, I want to click the first link in the bio and I want you to apply because we are going to be hand selecting the individuals that we think we can give a transformation to. Now, getting back into the video, why is it so important to go through that 3-step experience and repetition, right? Now, if we consciously choose new thoughts and emotions, right? For example, if it was Ray or Evelina, they chose to no longer feed the version of themselves they did not want to experience, right? This is through thoughts and emotions. Those are the first things that you get to choose. Now, when you choose a new set of thoughts and emotions, you actually start rewiring your neural pathways, right? What Dr. Joe Dispenza is that neurons fire together, wire together. So because they choose to no longer feed that old identity, they were no longer firing and wiring that old subconscious program. Now, what they were able to do with thoughts and emotions that were starting to feed a new personal reality or personality, once they saw this personality coming to life that they could choose, they were able to choose more choices, actions, and beliefs that supported this identity, right? We're talking about an identity level shift. What is identity? It's personal reality, it's personality. And it starts with your thoughts and emotions. Now, the more repetitively we do this, the more consistently we validate this new identity. When we validate this new identity, we have evidence. Our subconscious mind now has evidence that we are who we say we are. Right? Another one of the 5-day workshop members, Bill. At one point, he was never able to run a half mile. He was not able to run a half mile. A few weeks ago, he did an ultra marathon. An ultra marathon. That's more than an entire marathon. Those would be doing upwards of 30 to 50 miles of running. But what he told us was that because he ran that first half mile and he changed his thoughts and emotions and made new choices, actions, and beliefs, he had new evidence that he was a runner. He was a runner when he ran that first half mile, just like he was a runner when he did the ultra marathon. Now let's move on to point 3. This is going to be a critical point to understand about the hidden command center of reality. So the subconscious mind filters information, right? And because it filters information, the subconscious controls your perception of reality, right? Now, let's look at this. because the subconscious mind controls your perception of reality, how do we influence it to see a new POV? Now, if we're going to double back on the Bill metaphor, if he told himself he was going to be a runner and he did not show up for that first half mile, then his subconscious, through 90% of the repetitive experience, still confirmed that he was not a runner. This is why you cannot cheat energy, because the only way to change your perception and have that identity level shift is to actually make the choice. But the secret is that all we have to do is get into a layer of the subconscious beyond the conscious mind, beyond the doubts, beyond the limiting beliefs, into a place of present creation where we can create this new identity. And that's what all of the material in the 5-day workshop about. And that's what these 6 steps of reprogramming your subconscious mind is all about. How do we influence the perception of our reality? So, if you believe you are unlucky, the subconscious mind is going to look for more of that in reality. It is going to look for ways to confirm this because it is the familiar experience, right? So if, for example, Evelina, she was like, I want to prove to myself that I'm able to be more diligent in 5 days than I was over the last 6 months. If she did not show up and do the reprogramming exercises, if she did not get up at 6:30 and do the meditations, if she did not build an undeniable stack of proof that she was shifting on an identity level, then she would continue to see the thing that verified her old self, right? If there's something you're trying to move from, whether it's the idea that you're unlucky or the idea that you're not disciplined or the idea that you're not worthy, we have to consciously choose a new experience that we want to have. And when we consciously choose a new experience we want to have, we are no longer wiring the same neurons that validate the old experience. Now, because the reprogramming of the subconscious mind is all the way down to a 90% automated level, you can't worry about that 90% programming. All you can worry about is to make a conscious choice in the present moment. And if that conscious choice in the present moment is to experience more success, you have to choose the reality that validates that new version of you, right? For Bill, that was running that first half mile. For Ray, that was choosing to work out for the first time, and he had the blessing of having his kids join him. He got more blessings from the universe from making a choice that he was neglecting to make for a while. He had to count blessings he didn't even know were there. Now for Evelina, she made the new choice of being her most successful and disciplined self. And she was able to do that because she no longer fed the subconscious perception of her reality to validate the fact that she was no longer hardworking, right? So just know that your subconscious mind controls your perception of reality. Now let's move on to point 4 about your subconscious mind. So what's so interesting about the subconscious mind is that it accepts everything as literal. Now, what do I mean by this? Your mind, your subconscious mind, cannot tell the difference between a real or an imagined experience. I don't know why I went all southern there. Or imagine real or imagined experience. Now, this is very important to understand, and I'm going to highlight it from a unique perspective. What's going on in your head is the most real thing. So if you are visualizing an imagined experience of the past, and this imagined experience of the past is negative, right? If you're reflecting on the fact you got cheated on, or you're reflecting on the fact you got let go from your job, or you're reflecting on the fact that you have fear that you're not going to succeed in launching a business, the subconscious mind is going to think that's real, which is why the first step is to become aware of the thoughts and emotions that no longer serve us. And when these things come up, I hope you guys realize that you actually choosing to surrender those thoughts, choosing to let go of those thoughts, is actually reprogramming your conscious mind. I want you to think about it as if you were driving in your car for a road trip for 2 hours. The most real thing is what's going on in your head. I know so many times I'm off thinking about business, I'm thinking about work when I'm driving, and that's the most real thing going on, and I need to be very conscious about what's going on in my head, because if I'm imagining a negative experience, then I'm going to program that reality to be what's accepted by my subconscious as normal, right? It cannot tell the difference between a real or an imagined experience. So if you're having wins in real life, but you're imagining negative ones because you're out of fear, then it's going to be a net neutral. So you're just going to be stuck in place back and forth. This is why it's so important to surrender what we don't want to experience. When we surrender what we don't want to experience, we can choose the positive one that serves the reality we want to live. This is super important. Now, this is going to be exactly why visualization works, right? But I hope you know that you actually need to match it with a real-world experience. Because if Bill was only visualizing himself running an ultramarathon and he didn't even run that first half mile, then he's not able to say he's a true runner. The point of visualization is to make it easier when you get into that moment to make the decision. Now, there was this study done on a basketball team. They split the team up into 3 separate groups. The first group, all they did was practice visualizing shooting free throws, right? So they didn't even show up to the gym to shoot free throws. The second group, all they did was go to the gym. They did not have a visualizing practice. So they just went, they just shot their free throws, and that was their practice. Now, the third group, they did both. So they had to spend 15 minutes a day visualizing, 15 minutes a day practicing. Now, those first and second groups, the people that just did visualization or they just showed up to the gym and got shots up, they improved by 15%. That's solid, right? The group that did both improved by over 30 to 40%. That is the power of the real and imagined experience. That's why you need both. This is how you experience quantum shifts on an identity level, because you can program your mind in 2 different ways. You have the power to program it in the imagined world through visualization, and you have to program it in the real world through actual action and implementation. All right, now we're going to move on to point 5 about the subconscious mind. Now, I know I've experienced something like this. A lot of the people that joined the workshop experienced something like this. Point 5, your subconscious stores memorized emotions and traumas. Now, what happens when your subconscious mind stores these emotional traumas, right? When we think about what emotions are, it's a combination of thousands of thoughts and experience programmed into a feeling that we recognize, right? So let's use love as an example. Think about how many different ways you've experienced love, right? I've experienced love with my best friends. I've experienced love with my girlfriends. I've experienced love with my mom, my dad, my dog, life. I've had 101 different thoughts about love. I've had 101 different experiences with love. But the only way I know if I'm feeling love or not is through that emotion of love, right? Now let's look at it from another example. I've also experienced a lot of fear and doubt because I've experienced failure in my life, right? I've gone $80,000 in debt. I've had multiple failures of businesses. So those thoughts and emotions stack up and create memorized emotions and traumas. Now, what happens when we have these stored emotions and traumas? So let's look at this through the business lens, for example. Let's say this is Grant, and I'm no longer $80,000 in debt, but I have the memorized experience of being $80,000 in debt. As soon as I embark on a journey to create a new business, I'm going to run into this invisible ceiling because there's going to be something along the journey, whether it's a thought, whether it's an emotion, that brings up this feeling of failure and it sends me directly back to where I want to go, right? I'm stuck here because this memorized emotion and trauma, my subconscious recognizes like, Grant, don't go that way. It's a saber-toothed tiger. We need to protect you. This is a survival mechanism. Now, the only way we truly break through this is to change the thoughts and emotions that we associate with this. I changed it, right? I said, Grant, that's okay. We have a growth mindset now. Look at all the success and lessons you learn. This is how I reprogram, right? You have to do it consciously. And because I embarked on this new journey and I posted that first video, right? I posted that first YouTube video. Then I launched that first product. I was able to reprogram the experience and build a stack of evidence, which gave me a feeling. Now that feeling validated the experience and reprogrammed me to memorize a new emotion, right? This is why it's so important to become aware of the things that are our invisible ceilings. And it's why I'm building the brand in the way I am. Because whether you're an artist that wants to express creative pursuits, if you're an everyday person that wants to start a small business, if you're tired with your fitness journey over the last 3 years and you feel stuck, that's okay. We all come from so many different walks of life. But with the proper information, we can break through this old reality into a new experience. Now, I just want to highlight the fact that regardless of what path you walk, healing and transformation happens on the identity level where we imprint a new energetic shift, right? This is the identity level. At some point, I may have identified with failure, but because in business, I chose to walk through and I chose to post that first video, I chose to build that first product. I shifted my identity and showed myself that, hey, even despite coming face to face with this energetic ceiling and this memorized emotion and trauma, I was able to push through. Now let's move on to point 6 about the subconscious mind. So point 6 is going to realize that our subconscious is tapped in to the collective field, right? We're all tapped into the collective energy field. We're all tapped into the energetic quantum, which is why we might get downloads of inspiration, which is why we might get sensations of knowing that we've never had before. Like, oh my God, it's my intuition telling me I need to go this way. But there's something that I want to point out to this. The collective field has a collective unconscious and a collective conscious. So as you reprogram your subconscious mind, there are going to be fears that come up in the media you watch, in the convos you have with parents, friends, family. I'm just going to put relatives here. All right, that's always a classic one. These are ways that the collective unconscious fights back. This is the way that, hey, humanity itself has a shadow. Humanity itself has a collective unconscious mind. And that shadow is going to fight back too. Because as you try and change, people are going to be repulsed because they're in their familiar states too. So once you realize that you are able to tackle these things head on with the proper awareness, then you're going to be able to step in to the cycle of transformation. Now that we've made it to the 6 steps, I want to introduce you to a simple 4-step strategy to apply this in walking states of meditation, right? How do we accomplish this in 5 days? And for those of you that made it this far, this can be a little sneak peek into the Ascension Workshop. So step 1, we got to identify the old you. Step 2, we got to surrender. Step 3, come into the present. We understand the power of now. And step 4, we become the creator. Now, this is going to be a very surface level explanation, but for those of you that chose to apply and embark with me on the journey of ascension to unlock a similar transformation as everyone out of the first workshop, this is going to be what you're going through, right? So the first step you need to do is you need exercises to identify the old you. When you've been in the same place for a year, 2 years, 3 years, your blind spots are super strong. So you need exercises and meditations that help you come back to this moment and realize like, hey, that's not me. Now, when you realize what's not you, all you actually do is surrender the version of you that you don't want to experience. Instead of asking yourself 99 questions about, hey, what do I want? We have one simple question, what do I not want? And you can feel it in your gut, and the only way you can feel it is when you're experiencing that intuition and you're tapped in. Now, once you surrender those things, you're going to step into the present moment. Now, the present moment is where all the answers lie, because in the present moment, we have alignment. We have alignment with the field. That's the time we step in as a conscious creator, because we're finally in a place where we are no longer defined by the familiar past. Now, when we understand the power of now, and that in this moment, all we can do is create the experience we want to have, and we create it by surrendering what we don't want to experience and consciously choosing thoughts, emotions that form our personality, and our personality parlays into choices, actions, and beliefs that turn us into a creator of our reality through physical manifestation, then we've completed the 4-step cycle of intention. If this is a journey you want to embark on, I am taking applications. Now, we had a very successful first round, and if this sounds like something you want to be a part of, we're going to be booking calls because we want to make sure that we can take on people that are genuinely committed to transformation in their own life. So if that sounds like you, book a call with the link below, fill out the application form, and we'll go from there. Now, if you like this video, make sure to drop a like for the 6 subconscious reprogram tips, reprogram insights, and I will see you in the next one.